Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the podcast show. This is the show where we just have a laid back discussion with myself and you guys and the fans. We haven't had a show on Saturday evening, but we have a show tonight. So it's a lot of catching up to do, a lot of talking to happen, a lot of conversations that's going to have to take place because we're going to have to talk about many things. And what did I watch today? Let me just start with my thoughts on this particular match before other people join. If I've sent out the links to everybody, let's see who jumps on board with us and has a conversation with us. But let's just talk about the match situation currently. Okay, so South Africa 367 in the first innings. Bangladesh's reply was 298. Very good bowling performance from South Africa to get Bangladesh down after they let the game kind of slip away because of Mohammedul Hassan Joy scoring 137. What a wonderful performance from him. He deserves so much credit for the way he performed, as well as Litton Das as well. I think they both put on a good performance to get their side to 298. But the wickets, Simon Harmer was very good with the ball. But to me, the standout was Lazard Williams. I think the way he bowled, even though he has a lot of pressure on him because he's kind of the main bowler in the side at the moment with others leaving. Dwan Olivier was supposed to step up, and he was supposed to be the one that steps up and takes that mantle as the senior bowler in the side. But I don't really see much from Dwan Olivier that has impressed me. He went for 1 for 36 though in his 15 overs, which is a decent return. And then South Africa's performance with the bat. Let's talk about it because it started off very well. Thank you for the Ramadan Kareem messages and Mubarak messages in the live chat. Thanks a lot to all of you guys too that are Muslim that are watching as well. Ramadan Mubarak to you too. The batting performance, particularly Dean Elgar, I put on the front cover here because what I thought about Dean when it comes to this particular match and why I put him on the thumbnail of this particular episode is because I want to talk about the way he went about his business. He has come out and did exactly what we expected from him and what he said he would go out to do. Yes, maybe he never converted those half centuries into centuries, but he managed to keep together the innings, basically giving South Africa a very good start in both innings. Not only the first innings, but the second innings as well. And I prefer his innings in the second innings actually, and then the first. I know that yes, he scored more runs and it was of 101 balls, but I appreciate his second innings a lot more. I think he came out with a lot of pressure on him, and then we knew we needed to extend the amount of runs that we lead by, and we really needed to take the game to Bangladesh. And I think he came out and he batted really well. Now he wasn't really supported this time around by his opening partner in Sadal Evia. Sadal Evia was LBW, and LBW seemed to be the order of the day from a lot of the batters on with regards to wickets falling. I mean, we had Dean Alga fall for LBW, we had Sadal Evia fall for LBW, we had Keshav Maharaj and Dwan Olivier all go out at LBW. So that just speaks about the movement on the pitch and then what we were seeing, because the pitch did liven up a little bit more for certain players and for certain bowlers as the day went along. We could see that because the way we performed with the bat towards the end was terrible. And I have to admit that, and I have to say that because I have to give praise to Bangladesh. I don't think enough people have been talking about Bangladesh, and I don't think enough commentators have spoken highly of Bangladesh and their performance and what they've come with and what they brought to South Africa and what they did against South Africa. They've put on a performance that needs to be celebrated and spoken about because I think they were really excellent, particularly with the ball. Now, there has been aspects that we can talk about where they have fallen. And we know, yes, one particular innings really got them over the line with regards to, not over the line, but got them to a decent total in the first innings. But the way they bowled, I really think that they need a lot of praise for the way they bowled. Um, I'm particularly going to pick out uh, Khalid Ahmad and Taskin Ahmad, as both of them. I think they've been both excellent. Um, Tas- Taskin has improved me with his intensity, taking over the intensity from the ODI series and continuing it over into this Test series. But Mehdi Hassan Miraz, I think, I think he needs a lot of praise in this team. I think he's going to be a key man for Bangladesh now and going into the future. I love his attitude, his aggression, his and everything about him. I'm enjoying the way he's approaching it. Um, oh my word! I have to stop the show right now and just say, welcome back, Kumpo. Oh, we missed you. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm okay. It's been a long couple of months, but yeah, I'm okay.
Good to see you. What you been up to? Let's catch us up with everything that you've been up to.
Well, obviously, India series ended, and then I was in Senegal when the ODI series, or just before the ODI series. So I was at the start of the Women's World Cup, and we're doing all those games and the tests as well. So we're waking up at like random hours, but managed to go to Senegal. That was a really lovely trip. Then came back. Then we've been working on the doing commentary on this
Mm.
Bangladesh series, which has been insane for Bangladesh. Actually, they've done really
Yeah,
well.
exactly. I think that's what the conversation should be more. It's about how Bangladesh has performed. I don't
No,
think
no, it's how poorly we are performing.
we poor. Yeah, we're gonna get to how poor we performing. That's the next thing. At the moment, I'm kind of just praising Bangladesh for what
Mm,
they've done. Batting is still obviously an issue there. We could maybe say that. I mean, without that
mm,
one performance, obviously in the first innings, other than that, it's not necessarily anything to maybe be proud about from a Bangladesh perspective.
mm.
But South Africa, I mean, wow. I mean, we had so many opportunities. Now, let's talk about our second innings. The first innings, I mean, the first innings was okay. I enjoyed it. That
Mm,
was good. I think that we tapered off towards the end. We kind of fell
mm,
towards the end, and we did it again this time around. The second half of that innings was just absolutely poor, and it's gonna be some. I think it's about, for me, what it looks like. It was the approach for me. I
mm,
think that South Africa need to learn how to manage the games better. I think game management is a serious issue for our batters. I think that we kind of stick to certain strategies and then try to continue with it no matter what happens, no matter how the team adjusts to the differences, no matter how the pitch adjusts or
mm,
changes, we kind of stick to the same mentality. Now, I thought that when we lost our top order, particularly when Ryan Rickleton and Calvin Reina were at the crease, I think that was maybe a time for South Africa to maybe take the attack to Bangladesh and put pressure
mm,
back on them. There was enough. They were putting enough pressure on us in the field by bringing the circle close. I was listening to Ashok Prince, and I was like, he has a point, because you need to, as a batter, be in control and basically be in control of how the field is placed. If you can
mhm,
knock a couple over the fielders' heads, they're going to be forced to move the field around, and then there's more space for freebies with running, picking up runs and dropping and scoring. So I think the approach with the bat was poor. Um, Particularly certain strategies that we went with. The runouts were absolutely atrocious. I saw your tweets when it was happening, and I was just like, um, "What's your thoughts? How do we improve
today
that moving
was
forward?"
today was a bad day for South Africa. I think they allowed Bangladesh in, but obviously then they took it away from them. But because I was saying in the innings, 274 for Bangladesh to chase with just over 100 overs is something that Russell Domingo and Momino would have been really happy to take. If you at the toss said you'll need to chase 274 with 100 overs to go in South Africa, they'd probably take it. I felt when I was thinking, as you're talking now, there's one thing that keeps sticking in my mind. Barch at the end of the ODI series spoke about the fact that this team has a fear of applying the things that he had taught them around playing spin. And it kind of happened again today, happened a bit in the first innings, because, as you say, they never could push the fielders back.
Mm.
So if you look at the way Hassan Joy batted against South Africa, he always had some fielders around the bat, but he always wanted to hit over the top. And he was always willing to do that. The South African batters are not willing to do that. Even the senior players are not willing to do that. And that's kind of what happened. You let Mahidi get into his groove. And once he got into his groove, he was picking them off, and he picked them off really nicely. And largely it's because I think we go back to that press conference at the end of that ODI series where he was like, they have a fear of failure. He says he taught them a lot of, he gave them tools to handle spin. He showed them new shots. He showed them new ways to play the game, but they have a fear of failure of implementing what he told them. So if they're coming into this and within 10 days, that probably hasn't even changed. So then you find yourself with a team like this on day 4, needing to push the game forward, and they have this Achilles heel against an off spinner who has been bowling really well. And the ball's turning, the ball seeming the only thing that's saving them is the fact that Bangladesh keep on dropping catches. And then after lunch, they started sticking. And then you find yourself with this team with a lot of inexperience. And as you go down the order, it just becomes a lot more inexperienced. And like I felt for Vian Mulder. I thought, honestly, like he's scared. He's so scared right now. I heard he's mentioned on your platform that he has the fear of God about batting in international cricket. And he looked like it. On day 1, he looked like it. Today he looked like it. At least he did try. He tried his best. But it was just for me a little bit of inexperience, a little bit of a team that's in between, not knowing what they want to do. They're very hesitant, and they don't have a game plan to spin. I don't think a lot of people swept Mahidi today. I think everyone was just trying to poke and prod around in front, and they just got caught, and they got edges, and they got all these things. But to me, it comes back to that moment in that series where Boucher said they've got a fear of failure. A fear of failure in what? In implementing his plans. So if they can't implement your plans, dude, we've got no way. The only great thing about this Proteas team is that, man, having 2 spinners is really nice in Durban.
Yeah, Simon Harmer. I think he's. I know a lot of people are going to run and praise Simon Harmer and go and run with him, and he deserves the praise for what he's done. But I do believe that Keshav Maharaj has played a massive role in that, in taking wickets at the other end. I think Keshav's been really good in the series, and you could see it in this particular today when Bangladesh batted in the second innings. I mean, Keshav was excellent, and my thing is, what I love about Keshav the most is when you just about think, oh no, maybe he's out of it, maybe he doesn't have what it takes, maybe he's not the right person, and then he performs. He always brings out the performance. Somehow he finds it every single time. I think that's why they made him vice captain also. I think it's because of that spirit that he has in him, that passion that he has in him. And I think I'm not talking about now, obviously, in Test cricket. He's not the vice captain in Test, but I'm saying obviously vice captain of the Proteas in ODI format. But I think it's because of that feeling that he brings to the team, that passion that he brings to the team. He just tends to find a way, always. Even if there's nothing in the pitch for him, he tends to always find something that works for him, or finds a way to work. That adaptability is something that needs to spread throughout our team, because I don't think we adapt really well. Now, it's very difficult to adapt when you have 4 batters that are still trying to find their feet at this level. It's very difficult to then adapt, because you first have to learn how to adapt your game to the Test arena before you can adapt your game that you've now learned to the conditions and to other things. So it's extremely difficult, I feel, for the likes of having Sarel Ewe, Keegan Peterson. You still have Kyle Verreynne, you still have Ryan Rickelton, you've got Vian Mulder that's still trying to find his form. What I want to talk about, if you're gonna single out Vian Mulder over here and just chat about him a little bit, there's certain things that I didn't understand. Like, they could have went with an extra batter, like in this particular match, if they weren't going to bowl Vian Mulder. It's very weird that they decided to go with that. But the more the issue that I have is, I don't mind that. It's because we are looking at Vian Mulder as the future of South African cricket with regards to the all-rounder position. They've earmarked him as that, and that's what they want from him. And I can get that the fact that they want to push him into that position and they want to do that. My concern is that immediately when the boy doesn't perform, it's like, go back to domestic cricket. Let's go play domestic cricket. Get your form back. And I know that's everybody's cure for everything. But I have a concern about that. And we did send Vian Mulder back. He went to score 100. And I mean, he sent him back, but he went to go play domestic cricket. He scored 100, maybe in a different format, but he got 100. He got runs on the board. He was doing okay for the Lions. My concern is that we're sending players back without plans. I don't think there's instructions from the coaching staff and from the people that are analyzing him, sending that information back to maybe the franchises and saying, look, yeah, these are the things that maybe Vian is struggling with. We expect you maybe to solve that issues. Maybe he needs to bat opening the batting or bat 3 or bat higher up. I don't know, whatever the case may be. This is maybe a criteria that we think is needed from South Africa's point of view for him to sort out these issues, because it's not I don't think it's necessarily 100% a confidence thing. I think it's more of there's a lot more of an approach or method of approach that he needs to take as a batter for South Africa. I think he's confused on how he adapts and applies his methods and ways of play to this particular situation. And maybe that type of game style doesn't suit him, trying to knock balls around the corner and trying to block out balls. Maybe that doesn't suit him. Maybe they need to find a different way for him to get the best out of him, but send them back with a proper plan that they can work with so that they know what it is. Because I feel that players are getting thrown back domestically and being told to self-heal almost and find their form and then be open for selection again.
Khalid, you've been asking for this for years, and I agree with you. There needs to be a centralized planning session at the beginning of every season with the national coach and all the 6 franchise coaches to kind of discuss the type of cricket South Africa wants to play going forward and how the franchise can best help the national team. But for me, this is all mental. It's not his game. Vian Mulder is probably one of the best techniques in that side. The difference is, I think, it's a temperament issue and it's a mentality issue. Cricket is a tough game. It's hard to get going, especially because a lot of the guys who make it into international cricket have been at the top of their age groups, and their teams have been the best players in their teams throughout. The moment you arrive in international cricket, you're against your peers. So you kind of get put into your place. And similar to and this is why I think Carl Verena is so while Carl Verena has so well, and I still think he's got that technical issue, but he's working around it. But that 100 in New Zealand gave Carl Verena a reference point to say that he can do this again. You know, and you need that early reference point. Aiden's reference point was against Bangladesh in that first game, and then it came back again against Australia. The only problem is that he needs to go find that reference point back again, because it kind of tells you as a young player that I can do this. This level is for me. Yeah. Vian's yet to find it with the bat. And the longer it goes, he keeps on thinking in his head that he can't do it. So the reason why I say he must go back to domestic cricket, he can go there with a plan or without a plan, but he needs to spend an entire season. He must not play for the Proteas from now until after the World Cup next year. Or after the end of the season, because the World Cup's later on in the year, maybe. So maybe until March next year. And the reason why is that in that next season, he is so good at domestic level that he can be so dominant that he can put down runs that when he walks back into the side, similar to what Keegan Peterson, what Ryan Rickleton looked so good today in the past 2 days, and everyone has been crying for Ryan Rickleton, see why. Because those guys learned their craft at domestic cricket. They were able to get those wins at domestic cricket, get their confidence up. So when they arrived, they kind of will go back to those moments back at domestic cricket because they've got their confidence, they know it, and try to figure out what's working, what's not. Vian's never played domestic cricket. He's never played senior cricket before. He's been age group, under 19 straight into the Proteas. So he still has to learn. He doesn't know his game.
Yep.
You know, he doesn't know his game. So I'm saying spend the season at the Lions. Play all 3 formats. Be the Lions' number 1 batter and score as many runs as you can. He'll make it back into the side, but I want him back into the side as a batter who knows what he can do, what he can't. There are certain shots he needs to take out of his locker. He needs to discover that. There's certain things he needs to do. He still needs to discover that. But he's not going to discover it in a Proteas locker room, traveling from country to country, when all we're expecting is for him to produce performances.
Exactly.
Whereas at the Lions, he can fail and come back. And if you look at Keegan Peterson, Ikson, you can look at Sado Advi, you can look at Ryan Rickleton, you can even look at the guys at Cal Verena. They've earned their stripes. Let him go earn his. You can't, and this is my thing about South African fans. If he's 18 and he's good, let him go play domestic cricket. Don't bring him into the side. It's the same thing with Devil Brevis. Let Devil Brevis play 2 seasons, 2 full seasons of cricket, and then he can come back into the Proteas. That's all I ask. I don't care what he does at the IPL. He can score hundreds at the IPL for all I care. It was similar with Marco Jansen. The only thing I think with Marco Jansen is that as a fast bowler, it's a little bit easier for you to come into the international setup and play, because fast bowling is not as technical unless there are glaring things in your game that you need to fix. And so batting is a totally different kettle of fish. So for bowlers, you can do that. And that's why Vian's bowling is fine. Like Vian actually should have bowled more yesterday. But so for me, that's...
They could have brought him on earlier. I mean, Vernon was talking about it. Like, you could have brought him on a lot earlier.
Yeah. Like, I'm sitting there and I'm looking... Guys, remember on Thursday, or was it Friday? I don't know what it was. On Thursday, Vian got out first ball. He spent an hour sitting in the dugout. I was so sad for him. Because it felt like he was scared of what he was going to face upstairs. I don't know what's going on, but like the poor guy is in a minefield. He needs to take a break.
It feels to me like he's literally figuring this out by himself. That's what's bothering me so much. It literally looks like that.
And why are we allowing a
24-year-old
to do it?
Since he started as a youngster, I don't think he's had the guidance that or maybe too many people are talking to his ears. Either or, because I know that after the Lions, when he doesn't perform well, I watch him. I've been watching him very closely, domestically as well. What he does when he's performing poorly, and I looked, and he went out and he straight into P Dog's office asking him. So maybe because you spoke about that scientist of Test cricket. He spoke about that in my show on the front cover of the magazine. Maybe he's over analyzing things a little bit too much. I think he's maybe looking a little bit, maybe over analyzing too much.
That's what you're gonna do. Like, I've started playing golf. When my driver starts going right, I'll overanalyze. I'll go to YouTube. I'll be like, what am I doing wrong? What am I trying to... But that's why I'm saying he just needs to take a step back. Less pressure. And somebody because he's not going to get dropped from the lines. Somebody at the lines is going to be like, dude, you've got 30 games this season, 30, 40 games this season. You're going to play all of those games. Yep. Enjoy your cricket. Run around. Be the Vian we want you to be. And don't worry about it. It will come together. It always does. And that should be the way. He's going to play for Leicestershire. I hope he enjoys his time in the UK. I hope he doesn't worry about stats. I want him to grow as a man. I want him to grow as a human being. I want him to be the best version of himself. He needs to find himself. He's found love, so that's great. So he needs to marry the lady and just enjoy life. It's so nice being an international sportsman. And right now, maybe. But guys, and for me, I want to see Vian play for the Lions at the Wanderers, travel around the country, because he has the ability. He has that ability, and now it hurt me because, man,
it hurt me too. I mean, we can see that you're a fan favorite, Mpo, because I've been saying this in previous shows, and some people were disagreeing with me heavily, and you've said it here, and it's like gospel, so people believe you. So I just wanted to check here quickly. Okay, cool. I'll add you now. Bye. How's it? Bye. Welcome to the show. We're just talking generally over here about the situation and what we should do about the Proteas situation. Going back to domestic cricket, when players need to go back, when they shouldn't. Now, I've spoken about fast-tracking players before, and I've said that a lot more analysis needs to happen from a selector's point of view. A lot more analysis has to happen from a coaching point of view. There needs to be a synergy between them, coaches and the selectors. Now, obviously, I think things are going to change up significantly now. I think after Bangladesh, it's going to have that hearing with Poucher. Graham's already out of a job. A lot is going to change with Cricket South Africa. We're going to basically be we're going to probably be pressing the reset button completely, I think. And then we're going to have to start from scratch again. And hopefully that the new coach that comes in, if there is a new coach, dependable on what happens, that they've sort this out, that strategy and that synergy. Because I think that it's easy for us to see a boy play like the way Deva's playing, or Vian played like when he was a kid. I
Mm.
watched him play through the system. He was destructive. He completely dominated everybody in his age groups. That's why he went to the Lions and got a debut at the age of 18, 19. Because of that reason. Because he was that good at against his other age groups. But they need to analyze these players a lot better and see what is instinct and see what is technical issues and see what is this and what is that and what is strategy, what was instinct, what is. They can tell that, especially these players, these coaches who have played international cricket, that have dealt with youngsters in the past, they will be able to analyze these situations.
It's
And
actually
then
not even former coaches. Get P Dog to be working for the director of cricket, analyzing all the
exactly
players in the
strategists as
in the
well. Yeah.
national eye. And P Dog can sit with the Proteas, he can sit with the women's team. We can even give him an office in bloody Rosebank. I can. Like, we can give him an office at the CSA office, and he can sit and he can just go through everyone's weaknesses, what they want, create, because they do have this, Khalid, they do have KPIs. And that's what Patrick Moroney was telling me, that they all have KPIs, and every year they sit down with the players and they talk about their KPIs. So it's not as though Vian doesn't know where he's falling flat. It feels to me as though he was told this is his last series, because the way he's reacting out in Kingsmead is of a man who feels as though the journey's about to end, and that's just sad, because he's got so much more to offer. It's just that he's been mismanaged.
Yeah, and there's one thing looking at how you went out and watching how you lost your wicket, and there's another way of looking at consistency in dismissals and looking over that period of time. What is the consistency there? What is the thing that is consistent in the why I lost my wicket? Did I lose? Did I lose concentration? Did I get the wrong instruction and try to do something that's maybe out of my comfort zone? Sometimes playing conservative might not be blocking. Some people maybe don't like that. Maybe some people like to rather prefer to rotate the strike consistently, and that's how they get their eye in, rather than blocking or leaving deliveries. Maybe there needs to be a lot more. I think a lot more attention to detail. I mean, from all the conversations I've had with Enoch and Kwe, I mean, the fact that you wanted to put strategies in place, systems in place, things in place at Proteas, and it was turned down is a big. It's a big thing that I think that is important to know, that strategies are not there. It's the reason why Enoch speaks about that, systems, strategies. What is the consistency between the top level and domestic level? We need to bridge that gap, and it's not easy to bridge that gap because our domestic level, for some people, maybe they're saying that it's not as high and all of those things. I think there's a way to manipulate the situation to be able to get our players ready for international cricket, because there are some that have come through and it's worked, some it hasn't. So there must be some sort of synergy that can take place between the two. I think there needs to be more focus on
Khalid,
preparing.
if you,
When you see a play, like for example, when you see Deva Brevis, and you look at him and you're like, oh my God, this boy is amazing, he's talented, blah, 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 blah. Then you're like, what format are you going to give him? Like, for example, I'll give you an example where I'm not going to swear here, where they stuffed it up. It's Ramadan, I'm not going to swear. Where they stuffed it up. And a play that they stuffed up significantly, I feel, is Sinitembe Klashile. When I watched Sinitembe Klashile play in Kaimajolo week, he was a time cricket superstar. He was dominating the longer format. He was spending hours at the crease. He was taking innings deep. He was playing unbelievably well. Majority of his awards that he got at that Kaimajolo week, and mentions and man of the matches, some nominations that he got, was from the time cricket, the longer format cricket. When he got selected as a Protea, they threw him into the T20 setup as a quota because he wanted him literally to fill up the numbers. They told him, you're going to be the keeper, you're going to play T20 cricket. Do you understand that? I don't know if people understand the difference between the two. Like like the amount of time you have available, the amount of pressure, the difference in it. If you're not a specialist T20 player and you haven't played T20 for large portions of your career, it's difficult to adapt. It's not very easy if you're not a naturally attacking player like someone like Dewald or someone like Donovan Ferreira or Tristan Stubbs that can smack a ball a long way. He has a different mindset. So I felt that they should have identified Sinitembe Klashile as a future Black African batter in the middle order for South Africa, take him out and say, look here, guys, we're going to work on your long format game because that's the game that puts you to, that's the format that actually puts you on everybody's radar. Let's work on your 4-day cricket game. His first season in 4-day cricket was exceptional. And it almost seems like he changed his focus. It's now more, they made him a captain, they made him the keeper at such a young age. He hasn't found out his game yet. He's been caught out. And T20 has almost become his focus, or the shorter formats, and not maybe so much as 4-day cricket. His 4-day numbers have dropped significantly. And I think they stuffed that up, an opportunity to really find a specialist Black African batter in the longer format. For me, that's a chance missed. And an incorrect analysis because South Africa have put too much pressure on themselves with these quota numbers because they've never met it. And they don't try to meet it every single game or every single series. They rather try to catch up later on, and then they end up stuffing people's careers up. Because ultimately, that's what's going to happen. You're going to pre-select players that are not ready for international cricket. They're going to go out there, get exposed, and then they're not going to know what is right and what's wrong. Cricket is such a delicate game because one poor shot, you feel, oh flip, I'm never going to play that shot again. I feel uncertain to play that shot now against spin. Maybe I need to play another shot, and then you try something else out of your comfort zone. Let's just get Abai's thoughts. Abai, you've been covering some of the game as well. What's your thoughts? I mean, you having to look at this from America and all that time zones and everything. Are you disappointed? Are you upset? Or how are you feeling currently about South Africa's performance? Because I mean, I think me and Paul covered it quite a lot here.
You know what? First of all, good morning, guys. I was up until 4. I was up until 4, believe it or not. I watched the whole of the first session, and then I went to sleep. And then I got up around 8 to watch whatever last little bit was left. So I saw Bangladesh get 3 down. But yeah, I think I wouldn't say I'm absolutely impressed with this performance. Like, I think South Africa could have probably been a bit more positive with the bat, especially in the second session. I mean, Ryan Rickleton, he's naturally a hard-hitting player. He could have opened up, maybe attacked Mehdi Hassan. That was the opportunity to kind of push back the Bangladeshi bowlers some more. I would have liked to see that. That didn't happen. We could have had like a 300-plus lead, but at 274, it seems all right. And given the current position right now, I think I'd like to assume South Africa are way out in front.
They got lucky though, Abai. They got the lucky because when I looked at them, their reactions after they were bowled out for 274, they didn't look that happy. Boucher was peeved, like that he had to put his shoes on again and go down to the field. Like they were peeved. They were upset. They looked worried. They looked nervous because they know what's going to happen if they lose this game. I think things are going to come there's going to be a lot of questions asked because of the manner in which they lost it, if they do lose it. But they got very lucky that they spun. I wouldn't say lucky because I think it was a decision they made. They decided to go with 2 spinners because they saw the pitch was turning. They saw they were going to cause problems and it's going to get they might get that breakthrough, and it worked. 3 wickets down. Yet we mustn't. It's 2 wickets down for me, in my eyes.
Why?
Because I feel like as long as Little Dust is still available, to me, it doesn't feel. I don't see those 3 wickets as maybe like, oh, we in control now. I think we're still 2 wickets away from really feeling that we can win this game.
Look, Khalid, we spent in 2019. We sat and watched Kusal Pereira tear us to shreds on the 9th wicket in the 10th wicket partnership. So it's not over. My only problem is that we allowed them back in, and no one's going to talk about it when we win tomorrow. But that afternoon session where we scored 52 runs and lost 4 wickets, that was just horrible. It literally, they were stuck in like whatever gear it was. But yeah, no one's going to talk about it because Kesh and Simon are gonna clean it out. But they are so lucky Kesh and Simon are there.
Yep, we're so lucky. And so lucky as well that they didn't send in a night watchman when they lost their first wicket. That they decided, whoa, look here, because we knew that game was going to end early. Let's not lie to ourselves. We all knew that game was going to. So that would have been part of the strategy when they thought about it. So we're lucky that they didn't, because I think that would have maybe caused some problems. Any tail ender that's going to keep us from taking wickets is a problem for South Africa because the pressure just piles on. We've got Dan in the background. Welcome to the show, Dan. Great to hear from you again. He's not going to show his camera, guys, so just bear with him. Dan,
yeah,
you want to weigh in?
I've got a baby in the background, so you can't make a baby internet famous.
Well, you could make us more famous with the baby in the background. Dan, how are you doing, bro?
Doing well. Living in Memphis, Tennessee at the moment, so moved back to the States. And yeah, I work night shift, so I get to watch a lot of cricket now because the cricket's during the day. On either in the Indian subcontinent or South Africa, so that works out really well.
Mm-hmm. So what's your thoughts on this batting performance today, particularly today's batting performance?
I think it's basically been said. I think it's definitely a spinner's pitch, and it's weird to me to see how many people that you would think normally do well against spin have struggled with spin, both on the South African side and the Bangladeshi side. That being said, it's been a great test match. I think it's still competitive. I know they're I believe 11 for 3. Test cricket, anything can change after a day's rest. So, Bangladesh might still try and eke out a draw if they have the time for it, or even push and see if they can get a win. As for South Africa, again, I would say the point is that there is a bit of a batting problem. Sorry, I just noticed the comments. That we just see the same guys kind of scoring well. I can't remember. I was on One World Sports Radio. I don't know if it was Simon or Werner, but one of them brought up the point that we're seeing a lot of batsmen that just do really well domestically, absolutely kill it. And the second they put on Protea colors or Protea whites, there's kind of a drop in the translation.
Now, let's talk about that, because I've had a lot of opinions about this. Like, I've looked at certain players that have maybe not been able to make that step up and have come and gone. Like, you can look at someone like Atianis de Brain, for example. He was phenomenal domestically. For the Knights, he was ridiculous. He was scoring runs, almost 900 runs every season. He was spectacular. Came into the Proteas setup.
Spectacular in the ODI series, in the One Day Cup, by the way.
Yeah. Yes, he is.
Then he got bowled by Reza Hendricks.
Yeah, so smash the like button, please, guys. So when it comes to him, he wasn't maybe given enough opportunities, maybe you could say. Some people said he got dropped. He obviously scored 100 in Sri Lanka. It was something that was really impressive. He put on a good performance. There was reasons why they didn't give him another opportunity in the future. There are a lot of players that are maybe struggling. For me personally, I was looking at Cyril Earvier, for example, and I was maybe one of the guys that said maybe Cyril wasn't the right choice. I said, I know he scored 100, and still I'm sitting here and I'm like, when you pick a 32-year-old or 33-year-old, in my eyes, I feel that they need to understand the game. Look at Rassie van der Dussen. He's maybe an outlier when it comes to the international cricket, because he took to international cricket like a duck to water. He understood his game domestically very, very well, and that's what helped him. And he said it himself. The fact that the time that he spent in domestic cricket helped him solve his own, helped him find his own understanding of what his game plan is and what is his strengths. And international cricket allowed him to kind of explore that and take it to the next level by actually adapting his game to the situations. Now, not every batter is going to come into the system and perform magnificently. But I feel in cricket is very much a stats game when it comes to longevity. And when you look over a period of time, you need to look at behaviors. There are certain behaviors that you will see players have. For example, Cyril Earvier has scored a hell of a lot of half centuries, but he hasn't converted a lot of them. More recently, he has converted a lot more of his 50s into big hundreds. And that's something that he's picked up recently that they saw, and that's why I feel they've selected him in the side. Peter Malan was seen as that person. It was a bit shocking that they didn't give Peterman a second chance because he has scored at 80 against England, against difficult opponents when we were in a struggling period as well. He's someone that is learned to also convert to score big centuries and score big runs. So it was a bit confusing with that. But I think that they need to analyze things a lot better because stats don't tell the full picture. If I compare, for example, Tony Rizorzi and Kyle Zondo, I would have gone with Tony Rizorzi every day of the week. And my reason for that is he might not have had a double century to his name, or he might not have had a lot of more centuries. He has exactly the same amount of centuries as Kyle Zondo, but what stood out to me is he doesn't have a double century, and that's why his average doesn't get pushed up. But he scored consistent 50s this season for Western Province. So the consistency in a couple of matches tells us a bigger story to me than maybe one or two big performances in a career. So I think there needs to be a little bit more assessment and analysis happening when we're looking at players and which one should take the step up, because we might find a jewel somewhere where we're not just looking at the stats alone and we're looking at other aspects of the game that they have. Scal Verreynne was one person that I mentioned before, and it's maybe a little bit. I said he has this when South Africa when his team is in trouble, he kind of takes the pressure off himself and he kind of performs. We saw that with 100 that he scored in Test cricket. We haven't seen it yet in this particular game. He struggled a bit here. Coming back to the same technical issues that Paul has spoken about. So there are concerns and they need to be sorted out. And I was listening to Justin Salmon speak today and having a listen to what he had to say. And he said they've been working on certain things with the players, especially when it comes to spin. I do feel that it's going to take time to build that synergy within the team. There's been too many disruptions with this test team. Players gone, players here, players not available, players available. There hasn't been, for me, enough consistency within this unit where players have been on form. We've had problems with Aiden Markham being out of form. Then Sarel Ewe comes into the equation. Then Keegan Peterson's available, gets on form. Then he's out of the test. Then Zubair Hamza gets an opportunity. Then Ryan Rickleton doesn't get a chance. Then he does get a chance. Then it's been chaotic in the test arena currently, in the test team at the moment. And I think that things will start to get better when things level out a bit more. But we need to make strong decisions now going forward on how we're going to build this team for the next test championship.
Which one? This one that's happening next year that we're number 2 for?
I mean, no, this current one that we're working at. I think that we must go for this one as best as we can. But I think we need to still keep an eye on the next one. Thinking about who can still be available for that. I don't think they must plan just the season before and decide, okay, yes, now we're going to walk into this and we'll see what happens. We'll replace as it comes along. I want them to pre-it. I want them to think about it now already. The aim should be to be in the next one.
But my thing is that's why you have a squad mentality. That you may not play. Yeah, that's how
it's literally in South Africa. I've seen it as stopgaps. It's just constant stopgaps. It's just like, ooh, we're in trouble. We need to pick someone. Let's just pick the guys.
Can I jump in real quick?
Sure. Yes, Abhay.
Yeah. So, and normally how I like to think is if you have a problem to solve, you can't just cut it close and just meander through it and say, oh, this is what I'm going to do, like in crunch time. Like you've got to be prepared to deal with it well ahead of time. So even if something goes wrong early on, you have a plan B to turn to, and you could eventually get out of the problem. I guess when it comes to selection, I wanted to address one of the earlier points because we saw Ervia getting picked at age 32. There's sort of this natural expectation that the players have a good understanding of their game and should be able to hit the ground running. At the same time, I think before we say so-and-so is or isn't good enough, it requires like a reasonable volume of games. Like, for instance, we saw him score a century in New Zealand, and then now it's 41-8 in this test match. So I think he definitely has ability, but we'll have to see over the course of the next 4, maybe 5 test matches to see can he really push on and consistently make impactful scores, right?
I could also just want to add to that very quickly. I think one of the questions they have to ask Mark Boucher, or if it's a new coach, the new coach, is what is your 3-year plan, 5-year plan, 10-year plan? Like, what are you thinking of? If not to say that the coach is going to coach for 10 years, but this treatment of like we take it year by year and kind of see what we do, and oh, there's a tournament 2 years down the line. Let's gun for that. Let's see if we stand a chance. Is part of the reason why there's inconsistency in our game. We need to be able to know where we're at. Yes, there's going to be injuries in the squad. There's going to be people that are going to be on bad form. Do they have to get dropped? Maybe yes, maybe no. That's a coaching decision. But at the moment, it just seems like our coaches are very much fly by the seam of their pants. And then, oh, he scored a century. Good. We'll keep him in the team. Oh, he didn't score a century. Okay, you're out. We're going to drop you now. Like the coaching, I think, is something that has been pointed out before and will be pointed out for a while. And not to say that they have to tell the media every time, this is why this player was dropped or not, but more just say, more just have the players have the confidence in you to know that you're making the best decision for their game.
I mean, that's the structure.
Can I jump
The structure.
in there?
Yeah, you can. Of course.
Oh yeah, you were gonna say probably the director of cricket should be the one holding the 5-year, 10-year plan.
Exactly.
It's not the coach. The director of cricket must select a coach who can implement the plan regardless. But it's the nature of international sport. Coaches get fired across all sports after 2 or 3 years. You need to move forward. The thing for me is we need to get to an understanding that I don't think you'll ever get to a point where there'll be consistency. You need to learn. People need to learn that people will get dropped for poor form, and that's what we want. And you want guys knocking on the door. But the thing about it is that you need to then let the guys know below you in the domestic setups what you want at an international level. So when they make it into the international level, there's no ambiguity about roles. There's no ambiguity about everything else. And for me, that's where I think we've lost it. Is that now, because people need to get dropped. If you're not scoring runs, you must go. Like I don't understand why we want to keep people in teams, because no, they've been there and they've done that. It's not right. It's not fair on the guys below. And so we just need to find a way. We need to find a balance, and that balance was the director of cricket. He needs to hold the strategy and the direction of South African cricket going forward. And for me, the players in the squad
that I've had,
the
conversations I've had with Graham, it didn't seem like that was there. It seemed very much that the focus was. Yeah, but it seemed like the main focus was international cricket. That's it. It didn't seem like there was a plan for the rest.
Guys, Graham only focused on the men's national team. The women's national team went to the World Cup only having played 5 ODIs in South Africa. 5. I was sitting there going, Oaks, what? And you guys expecting them to what? They did actually. They played out of their socks.
Very well, yeah. They played out of their socks. Yeah.
Then they don't have a domestic. They didn't have a women's Super League, so they couldn't do a strength versus strength tournament going into the World Cup because he pushed that out. And
it's incredible how they stayed so fit. It's incredible how they stayed so focused and fit, eh? It's unbelievable how that women's team stayed focused and fit through this.
Here's the fun part about it, right? Our domestic one-day cup is going to be played on a Wednesday night. On a Wednesday night. Nobody's going to be televising it. No one's going to be watching it. It's just going to be like, okay, no, it's a Wednesday night. Like, who thought of that? We just snuck in. We don't even have. He couldn't even close out on the MSL. So all I'm seeing is this national men's team is just going forward, and Graham just let them down. But my thing is, it has to be a squad mentality. You need to let people know who's in the setup and who's not, and that even though they are off form, there'll be opportunities for them to come back into the setup when they do find form. And you do a little bit of a cycling, but you've got a squad of 20 guys who know that they're Proteas, and they'll play domestic. And if they don't play for the Proteas, they know that they're in there. They need to just keep on knocking on the door. Being on the bench is not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Having Aiden sit on the bench is not a bad thing. Having Kyle sit on the bench is not a bad thing. It's about how you communicate it. how you let them know that you're part of my plans. This is my 20-man squad. And even being in and out of the squad, if you get dropped from the squad, that's fine. There'll be other guys coming in, but everybody knows in the country where we're going, what we're trying to do, and what's needed in each position on the batting order, because that's the only way we can move forward and have guys being ready. What Meg Lanning said today in the World Cup final on that podium was, we had a squad mentality. These girls have been playing cricket for 3 months. We went with a squad for over 3 months. They played the Ashes. They smacked England. They came into the World Cup and they smacked everyone else because they had a squad mentality. They didn't lose a game, but they knew whoever was coming in and out of the squad knew what they needed to do. So you don't have a situation like now when you're playing Bangladesh and guys don't know what they're doing because it's their first time coming into the setup and they're like unsure and things are happening and they're uncertain whether they're going to get a game again. So that's how you need to move forward as a team. You need to have a fast bowling core and a spin bowling core, and you can chop and change, and we shouldn't be surprised. For instance, if there's a day that happens that Keshav doesn't play but Simon Harmer plays, we shouldn't be like, oh no, Simon Harmer is better. It's just because we're looking at a squad mentality. If there's a day that Lungi doesn't play, but Lazard plays, it's a squad mentality. You know, when Ryan's playing, but Aiden's not, squad mentality. That's what you need to be getting to. You can't be, oh no, so-and-so. Because yes, bad guys are out of form. That's fine. But this thing of persisting with guys who are out of form just doesn't make sense to me. You need to give people opportunities, and you're gonna cycle through a lot of caps. But at the end of the day, you'll find the right 11, and you'll win games.
And also on top of it, I think that players, like that's why I was talking about analyzing and making sure that there's plans, is because players go back to domestic cricket, but then they play in a completely different role to what they play in international cricket. So tell me, how are they learning the mistakes that they are making internationally? How are they learning to fix it in domestic? You'll see, for example, Calvareno will go back and he'll bat higher up in the order maybe. He won't bat it down the order. He won't bat in that position where he's needed to do what he's needed to do at international level. Certain openers, I mean, there's certain players that maybe open domestically and then suddenly they're batting 4 in the national team and you're like, but that's a completely different role and harder as well because it's international cricket. So like certain things, that synergy needs to be there, which is not there. And I feel that there needs to be a communication. Like when they speak to Yanaman Malan, it should have been a high performance coaching, even selectors conversation with Boland for him to change his position. Not him deciding, oh, I need to bat 4 because that's probably my best chance to get into the national team.
And look, it was a masterstroke.
It was masterstroke. I don't deny it, but why is he making that decision by himself? Why is he identifying that with his Boland coaches that Flip, maybe this is a better position for me if I want to get into the national? Why is that not communicated with Boucher? Why is Boucher not communicating that with him? Why is the coaches?
Because you can't talk to every player in the country.
Not every player, but you can at least earmark. You can earmark one of each. You can earmark 2 of each team that you maybe see as potential replacements.
But dude, at the start of the season, Yanaman was nowhere near that test side.
No,
Yanaman,
I'm not.
If you looked at the openers, Yanaman was so far away from that test side.
Yes, but my point there is, if you see that happening, and a lot of us as fans spoke about Yanaman moving to 4 potentially if he wants to get into the test team. We spoke about it here on this channel. For us to be able to identify that and then say it on here, and then him going to actually do it a couple of months later, I'm not saying it's definitely not because of us. So he's doing it out of his own. He's been able to analyze that and identify that. So my point is that should have been identified beforehand. You know a player coming. They know which players are standing up and which ones are almost ready to make the internet. They know. Trust me, they know. It's just that I feel that there is things happening behind the scenes that are making things difficult for that transition to happen. Because I mean, you have one communication on the one side. What Victor told me at the beginning of the season when he just got the job, and what he said in the middle of the season, and what he's saying now is completely 3 different messages that we are getting.
I think one thing that we can like kind of tie both points together is just the like Mpho said, the explanation of roles. So if you bat 5, this is what we expect from you. You can be the Lions 5, you can be
Yes.
hell, you can
Yes,
be
that's what I
the
meant.
Cheetahs
Yeah,
5
exactly.
for all that it matters. But if you can bat consistently and bowl consistently, you're the Proteas 5. And that is something, yes, players are injured all the time. I mean, just look at the IPL, how many franchises now are starting to look at injury woes and go, oh no. But the good teams are the ones that don't plan necessarily for an injury, but have tools in the toolbox and go, okay, well then, everyone knows you have to have this skill set, so we can just find the player with the next best skill set. But and one very excellent point that you raised, Khalid, was they don't domestically, you don't always see a lot of consistency. Like when Jacques Callis played for the Cobras, once a year, he still played at 3. You didn't send Jacques Callis in at 6. You didn't have Jacques Callis open. He played the role he always wanted to play, or he didn't play. And I think the communication between the international and the domestic team should be like, if they're internationally selected to be a wicket keeper, they have to be the wicket keeper for your domestic side. If they're the international opening batsman, they have to be the domestic opening batsman. If they don't have form there, that's where we get into trouble. But we see a lot of rugby examples, and rugby is a very good example of the Springbok team. A couple of years back had like this concept of rotating players, and you'd have one guy play like 6 positions, and we lost badly. Why? Because we had a jack of all trades but masters of none.
And
The
also,
other thing,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, it's also
the
like
other thing
keeping play,
is the
keeping
Proteas need to
play.
play domestic cricket.
Yeah,
They need to
that
play
too, yeah.
domestic cricket.
Yeah.
Even if it's the start of the season, but they must play. They can't run away now. Like, you can't. Because
We're not good enough to pick and choose what we want to play anyway.
Well, the guys have been picking and choosing.
Exactly.
Because
That's what
there
I'm
needs
saying.
to
We're
be
not good
window-
enough for that privilege. We're not good
Yeah.
enough for that privilege.
Because there needs to be windows where guys compete against the Proteas, because that's how you know you're good enough to play international level. So if you score 100 against the Lions attack that has Kagiso Rabada in it, and you smack Kagiso around the park, you definitely should be that 50 should be considered much better than you scoring a 50 against Bashir Walters at Newlands.
Vian
I'm not
Mulder.
saying that Bashir Walters is a scrub, but yeah.
Vian Mulder, very good example. Vian Lubber, very good example. I'm going to use both examples and I'm going to explain why. Vian Mulder, top order batter at school, top order batter for S under 19, bold as a bonus. Comes to international cricket, the new number 7. That's what they're looking at. Oh, our number 7, our batter, he must bat at 7. They approach the game completely differently. A number 7 batter and a number 4 batter, a number 5 batter, they approach the game completely differently. Mentality-wise, approach-wise, technique-wise, shot selection-wise, everything. They approach the game differently. Vian Lubber has been moved around from... We saw him, I identified him maybe as a potential finisher for South Africa in the future. Proteas identified him as an opening batter or number 3. Now, he's played number 3 for the Durban Heat. He's played number 3 for Warriors. He's opened for the Warriors. He's batted lower down for the Warriors. He's batted lower down for the Lions when he played for the Lions. He batted higher up. He's moved in and around everywhere, trying to find a spot that suits him so that he can get that selection. Because I feel that players are kind of in running in headlights, trying to give themselves the best opportunity to possibly be looked at from an international level.
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to do. So they will move their position. They'll do anything that it takes to get there. But if there was communication and they were told, look here, Vian, we see you as a potential maybe finisher for South Africa. Maybe you could bat at 6 and bowl a few overs for us in T20 cricket. Maybe that's where you should bat for the Warriors. Call up the Warriors coach, have a conversation. Do you agree, Robbie? Robbie, we have this idea of where we think Vian should play. You know him better than all of us. What do you think about this? Yes, no, X, Y, Z. This is what I think. Okay, cool. We've decided we're going to play Vian at 3. Whatever. That sort of conversations need to be happening, because we can't be having situations where players get not only bat out of position internationally or play out of position internationally, but they also have to play international cricket and survive. That's like asking them to kill 2 difficult tasks in one round. Like, it's not, it's tough out there.
One thing I would say is, I think one is when we speak about domestic cricket, that doesn't always mean South African domestic cricket, because I see a lot of people are saying, well, what about the money? And maybe it doesn't make sense. Like you could play county cricket. That's still a domestic game. Like obviously we'd like to see them play in South Africa so we could build the game and the following in South Africa. And the second thing is, we've seen like guys like Jacques Rudolph and AB get success moving up and down the order. But we have to understand that just because something just because something works once and works really doesn't mean it's going to work for you all the time.
Even that point of when a new batter comes into the team, do we decide to bat him at 6 to protect him, or do we just put him straight into his position? That was also something that has been thrown around all over the place from fans, pundits speaking about it. Come up with, because before, when Ashwell Prince and all of those guys were coming through, that was the mentality. No, we have our top 5. You come in at 6 if you're a new guy. That was almost everybody automatically took that as that's how it is. But things switched around. We got desperate because we never made the transition fast enough. We didn't plan fast enough. We didn't make the right decisions early enough. And now we're sitting in a situation where we are desperate to win games, and you have to pick the best players that you have available domestically. Then quota happens, and then players get selected based on the quota system and all of those type of things. And then we complain all the time. They say, oh, no, but this is not good enough. That's not good enough, because the planning hasn't been done early on. They should have already... 2 seasons ago, they should have already identified their Black African and players of color that are coming through the system and say, look here, we're going to invest in these guys. We're going to put extra effort in these guys, maybe as potential, if that is such a big thing for them and they're worried about the quality. Give people opportunities to perform in the best position that they possibly can. Another thing, we need more SAA tours. This is bull that we're not getting enough. We need more SAA tours, emerging tours, so that these players can get a slight understanding of what international cricket's about.
We need high school teams to play competitively. Look at the play, for me the best example is like Rabada. Rabada was basically discovered at the under-17 game where he took 9 wickets, and then he became like a household name. But even younger than that, we need to start these guys, and the guys that have good talent, get them into clinics, get them to the Tux lab, get them to Wits. Have them with professional cricket coaches that start working on their mechanics and build them up from a young age, because that's what the Indias and the Australias are doing, and that's why they're consistently at the top of the pile.
Yeah, I mean, if we can identify Deva Brevis as the next AB de Villiers, then I'm pretty sure they can identify who's the next maybe Temba Bavuma, who does that role, who naturally does, because cricket it's very easy to see natural people. It's a very instinctive game. It's very easy to see when a player has a certain mentality very young on, because that's when they're younger, they're playing instinctively. They're playing with their instincts. They're playing naturally according to what is good for them. Until they get into the domestic setup, they start playing provincially, then they get tweaks and they take things to the next level. But when they're playing at school, it's probably when you are playing in your most free nature. You're playing your natural game instinctively. So yes, to identify them at school is tricky, because you can't look at every single player in the bloody country. You're going to have to obviously lower those pools. That's why we have the hub system, so that the hubs can be put in place so that we can identify talent from a young age. And I hope that the hub system gets invested into more, they pump more money into the system so that we find more players. The only way South Africa gets to the top of the crop again is if we do produce more players of color in this country, because that's the majority. You want majority of the people to play the sport.
There's an entire podcast that we can do on this, because
I
still believe the pipeline is producing too many white players. I still believe the pipeline is producing too many white players. And that's not because of CSA's lack of effort. It's just largely because of the way in which we see cricket. We still see it through a prism of whiteness. So we see guys doing pretty shots and stuff like that, but we won't be able to acknowledge that happening to a black player, or even giving a black player you see and identify as talent, giving him the necessary coaching and the necessary mentorship to be able to go through. Former players, white players, need to do that. Former players, white players need to come back and need to try and lend a hand to CSA to help them groom, because we can identify the players that have done well, but they need to come back and help mentor those players through the system. What former white players have done And as evidenced by that SJN report, they've washed their hands of CSA and cricket in South Africa, and they don't want to help. They're just folding their arms, watching everyone and be like, they want their game, let them see it, because they believe that the black people won't be able to run it well. And that's what's happened. And it needs to change because the problem is that there's not a lot of black cricketers who played international cricket that can mentor everybody. Temba can't mentor everyone he's playing. Makai was never a batter. Were there any other batters there? Yes, currently they're all our coaches. But we need to find the guys who aren't involved in cricket in South Africa to be able to go to the townships and or even to these Model C schools and mentor the black players and coach the black players up. Give them that extra boost because trust me, I'm a product of mentorship. I wouldn't be where I am without a mentor. He was a white man. He didn't understand me for the first few years of our mentorship. But then towards the end, I got to understand him. He got to understand me. And it really was beneficial in getting me out of the cycle of poverty that we were in. And for me, that's what needs to happen with black batters, especially at a young age. Because Sheila needs a mentor who's played international cricket and who's scored runs at international cricket. But they don't want to come and help.
That's my point. They're left to their own devices, man. They're left to self-heal themselves. That's my problem. It's bad. It can't be doing that.
And that is why I thought bringing Graham Smith would have done that. But I kind of feel like Graham, with all the backlash he got around Jacques Callis, was like, you know what, it's fine. I'm just going to do the bare minimum and see where I go. Because Graham needed to have a list of black African batters that he could rely on, that he could go to. And Kazondo's done well. He's brought himself back into the frame. We're happy Tony Duzorzi is there, but that list needs to be longer. Grant Mukwena's had a great season. How are we going to build on that? Who's going to be helping him build on that? We need those mentors to come through, give guys an opportunity, and guys will fail. And that's a natural fact of life. And when they do, you just need to go back into the guy who's in the setup, who's in the squad, to come up and set themselves up. By the way, Spanelo Makanya is one of the best cricketing captains I've ever seen.
What I would say, just to add to that, is if you look at and obviously it's been almost a decade since I've last watched like high school cricket in South Africa. But if you look at it, there's a certain level of transformation up to about 13, 14, 15, and then the teams kind of look like they got hit by bleach. I think that's something to look into. Like, what is causing black African players not to want to carry on with cricket after grade 10, grade 11? Is it the high school coaching? Is it the exposure?
Not it is going to answer.
Not enough players, not enough people of color have been given opportunities to go to top schools. Simple as that. We have not provided structures in place to allow people of color to fit into top schools. And like I said, I use my example as an example. I was in the class of 2010. It's 2010, for God's sake. We had a flipping World Cup year. Like, it's 2010, and you have 3 black Africans that have matriculated with me, and none of them have played sport like at the top level. One of them played maybe B team, A team rugby. The rest haven't. 3 black African players in my whole entire grade of 178 people at Rondebosch Boys High School. That's not on. So, like, my point is that the school systems need to put things in place to help make that transition. Don't tell me that your structures aren't right for people of color. Don't tell me that your structure. When I spoke to the Pretoria schools about the school system and about them being banned in the T20 competition, I did a fully in length article about this. I asked the 4 schools. I contacted every single school. I'm not going to mention names. I don't want to get people into major troubles here, but two of the principals.
I know the schools you're talking about, by the way.
Two of the schools told me that black people don't speak Afrikaans. So if you can find me black people that speak Afrikaans in Pretoria, then we will put them into our school.
I think I know what school that is.
Yeah. So that's what I was told. And I was like, but what are you talking about? You were given a goal for 2 years to produce two players of color in the national in your school team. They didn't even have to start the bloody games. They just had to be in the squad. Then they say, oh no, but we have a black African boy, but he's in grade 8. So how do you expect a grade 8 boy to perform? I said, where's your matrics and grade 11s that are performing? Where's your grade 10s? Where's your black African grade 10s? Oh no, we don't have. We only have one that's in grade 8. That's good enough that maybe you can put through. The structures, why must we change our structures to fit these people in? That's what I was, traditions and structure.
Yes.
Traditions and structures effing up our sport in this country. Because all the traditions and structure at the top schools are all white structures. They're all colonialist structures.
But what you then need to do, and that's where we need to change the model, is we need to work on a model that doesn't take a black child out of the township, but it allows the black child to compete against those schools. In the top, because these guys don't want to change. They never wanted to change.
They're not going to change.
So they'll always blame the quota system when we fail, even though we've asked them to try and accommodate us in. And we need to stop trying to ask them to accommodate us, and rather just be like, okay, fine, let's see how we can build township cricket back again. Because one of the big sad things about that post-apartheid era was that a lot of the things that were held up and built up by our black people, such as black cricket and black cricket clubs in townships, died the moment we transitioned out of apartheid, largely because they thought the government was going to do that and was going to carry on doing it, rather than them continuing to do it themselves.
I mean, we live in a society, in a generation where everybody is talking about equality, right? We're crazy about equality. Everything must be equal. Everybody's talking about equality. But the most unequal thing in this country with regards to sport is our cricket in this country. Do we know that our black African people have had a significant, our white players have had a significant head start in cricket over our players of color? I don't think people understand.
Get one.
And
they still get one. Every white child in the country gets a head start.
But that's as a result of. It's a result of continuation of that happening, of that head start that they've had already. So when you a white child and you're born into a household of cricketers, it's a lot easier for you to get into cricket than for a person that's never had no ancestors that have played cricket before, and then he's trying to get into this new game that he doesn't know anything about, and then they still expect him to perform at the same level as a player that has had 5-3 coaches in his time through high school. Like, that's my problem. We are literally, our players of color are literally not the same for colored players. Colored players had a cricket community where they played a lot more, I feel, than the black community, because black African people in South Africa in apartheid were not considered citizens. So they weren't seen as, people wouldn't even go there to look at the structures. They wouldn't even go there to look for talent because it wasn't important to them. The white players were the only ones that were important. Like I said, quota system was always there. It was just 100% white. Now it's not. Right? That's the difference. It was always 100% white, and now it's not. It's simple. Now it's 40%. So that's the big difference. So to give that head start, we need to change the structures, put the structures in place. If a black African boy can't go to a top school and play where cricket is being played, how do you expect him to be a professional cricketer? What is going to happen is we're going to be throwing things into the wind and hoping that one comes back. We're going to be throwing 500 boomerangs into the wind, hoping that one of them comes back in a massive hurricane. Like, it's just not going to take place if you don't put the right structures in place. Abba, you want to say something before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I had a point to make. I kind of lost my train of thought, but let's see if I can get it back. One thing I definitely want to add is, I'm an outsider here when it comes to this conversation, but whenever things go wrong with the national side, it's very disheartening to see that people blaming the quota system. I feel like it's very lazy reasoning, because why don't people talk about so-and-so isn't good enough because they have technical issues with their batting, or they can't control their lines and lengths in bowling, they can't field that well. Why isn't it that line of conversation instead? Because I think constructive criticism, it helps people. I mean, yeah, at times it might come across as harsh, but at least players will then know how to learn from their mistakes. But I just want to sign off with on a more on a better note, I guess. It'll be see ideally it'll be so nice to see people of all backgrounds getting a chance to play for their country. Understandably, some are in, should I say, a more favorable position than others, and I'm mindful of the fact that it's a tricky process, and there are things that need to change. But at the same time, I feel quietly confident that this problem will be solved.
Well, I guess it is also like we can't compare the rest of the world to South Africa. That's one thing we must stop doing. But if you do look in the world, there aren't a lot of black players in cricket. If you
Except
take
for the
away,
Windies, yeah.
yeah, if you take away the Windies,
I mean,
like
because Australia had its first black player. Sorry, I cut you off, but
no, go
Australia
ahead.
had its first black player in what, 2006? Australia's been playing since the 1800s, right?
Mm.
No, 1900. Either
Yeah,
way,
yeah, it must
that's
be
almost
1800s.
almost 100 years of playing. And so, yeah, Simmons, I think, was the if memory serves, was the first black Australian Test cricketer, or the first Indigenous Australian Test cricketer. Like, you know,
Yeah, so exactly, it shows what cricket is. Generally speaking, it was always a white man's game. That's just what the case has been. But then India obviously got it through colonialism, etc. I don't know what the true story is there, because there are two completely contradicting stories there. Some people say India created cricket, so others say that England did it. So like it's a bit of a mixture. Then we have the Indian and the Pakistanis, and that's different because majority of their country is already people of color of those countries. So it's obviously going to be a case that you're going to have majority speaking. Our country is the only one that we can really speak about where the majority is not represented in the team. Unfortunately, this is the only team in the world of cricket that is like that. So we need to rectify that, because if we're the only team that's speaking from a minute little small pool of cricketers when it comes to cricketers. Okay, Zimbabwe maybe two. Zimbabwe is maybe another example of struggling, but they have other issues. But when we're talking about some of the top tier teams, there's only a small little pool that we can pick on from, because we're not giving enough players opportunities. We're not giving the majority opportunity to play the sport. So that needs to change. But we'll get to talk about that. We'll talk about that. I wanted to have a quota show actually soon, where we bring on a guest of panelists, journalists, people in the sport. I want to talk to everybody and have a conversation about the quota system and where we stand with it. Talking about maybe things that we can do in the future. But guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thanks a lot, Paul, for coming. Dan, Abai, for joining me. Otherwise, it would have just been me alone talking to the guys. So thanks a lot for joining in. To all the guys out there, smash the like button, comment, share, subscribe. Click the notification bell for all future videos as well. But also subscribe to Cricket Fanatics Magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every single month. We're getting closer and closer to 3,000 subscribers for our magazine as well, guys. So please get involved over there. I know you guys have gotten us to 3,000 subscribers on YouTube. It's onto the 4K family now, guys. So please, let's push towards that. But we're getting closer and closer to the subscriber base as well, which is a separate subscriber base to our YouTube subscriber base on the magazine as well. So the digital magazine is doing well as well, guys. So please go ahead and subscribe there. It's free. Doesn't cost you a cent, and you get free information and insight from all the top cricketers and cricket personalities in the country. So please go ahead and download that straight away. Proteas, hope you guys make us proud tomorrow and win the game. Thanks a lot, guys. I think we gave you enough insight on what we thought about it. Let's hope they get over the line and don't have a slow start like they usually do. And then the only option is to draw. I hope that's not the option.
You
But
can't
guys,
draw. Draws off the table, guys. Like, honestly, it's off the table.
I'm talking about the series.
Unless there's a weather delay.
Yeah, talking about the series. Yeah, I'm talking about. I hope that we don't lose this game and then we only can draw the series. So I don't want that to end up happening. So let's give ourselves the best opportunity to win the series. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow with another daily show. Remember, guys, our daily shows will be at 8 o'clock during the Ramadan currently. Okay, yeah. So we're gonna be having our show at 8 o'clock. Now, because of it's currently Ramadan at the moment, so obviously it's going to be difficult for me to do it around the normal time at 7 o'clock like we normally do. So we'll be doing it at 8 o'clock from now on. It's all our shows. So daily shows, everything. So hopefully more people will be able to tune in then if 8 o'clock works, guys, and you guys are tuning in on 8 and we seeing numbers that are different and it's higher than we've ever had, then we probably will stick to 8. But let's see. Let's see how you guys tune in on this particular show. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you guys again very, 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 very soon. And Paul, don't be a stranger.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Adios. And listen.